Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, before I get started, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Racha Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth and rule well. Peace and blessings unto the hopeful elect, pushing his word throughout the four corners of the earth in truth, righteousness, and sincerity. To you, I say shalom. This is the brother Yeshaya coming at you again through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. And in this video, Lord willing to be edifying, I'm gonna be going into the valley of the shadow of death, and just gonna go over this kind of briefly. I mean, we'll see what the Spirit allows, but I got a couple precepts on hold that I want to bring out into this chapter. And I'm gonna read into the whole chapter. You know, there's only 6 verses, so might as well do the whole chapter. So let's go ahead and jump right into this thing. We're gonna start off with Psalms 23 and verse 1, and it says, a Psalm of David. The Lord Yahweh is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. Now, when you look at a shepherd, what does a shepherd do? You know, he guides the sheep, right? He guides the sheep. And ultimately, the guidance that we're receiving, us, Lord willing, will be, you know, those counted to be part of the elect, right? Those counted to be part of uh, 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 the fold, you know, part of the Most High's, uh, um, like Yahweh Shah said, you know, his sheep, right? His sheep hear his voice. So Lord willing, would be those sheep, right? Uh, um, we're ultimately being guided through the Spirit, you know, what I'm saying to serve the Lord, to do His will, to have faith and trust upon Him, right? For us to be led, you know, by the still waters, because when you trust in the Lord, you know, His track record, you know, is as you could say, you know, undefeated. You know what I'm saying? When you look at like a fighter's track record, well, our Lord Yahweh is undefeated. Right? Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah is undefeated, man. Right? So you can look at the generations of old, as it says in what is it? Let me see if I can find it real quick. It might be Wisdom of Solomon or Sirach. Okay, yeah, Sirach. Sirach 2 and verse 10, it says, look at the generations of old and see did ever any trust in the Lord and was confounded, right? So you can just look at, you know, our forefathers, right? You know, look into the scriptures, you know, and look at their accounts, you know, look at the testimonies that they left behind, letting you know that when you trust in the Lord, you won't lack nothing. You'll be taken care of. That'll be your defense, right? So let me read this again. It says, Sirach 2 and 10, look at the generations of old and see did ever any trust in the Lord and was confounded, or did ever any abide in his fear and was forsaken, or whom did he ever despise that called upon him? Right? And the answer is no one. Verse 11, for the Lord is full of compassion and mercy, long suffering, and very pitiful, and forgiveth sins and saveth in time of affliction. And especially now that we're coming into these times of affliction, you know, the scriptures called Jacob's trouble. We're coming into these times fastly. You know, we're already in Jacob's trouble. You know, but things is going to start to escalate real rapidly now that we're in it. You know, when the snowball, you know, gets rolled down the hill, it starts picking up speed, and the same thing with this is going to start. Is going to start to pick up speed and momentum, right? And it's going to take everybody who it has to take, right? We understand that the elect are going to be protected, right? And Lord willing, like I said, we'll be part of that elect number. But it says, I'm gonna read this back in verse 11. For the Most High, or for the Lord is full of compassion and mercy, long suffering and very pitiful, and forgiveth sins and saveth in time of affliction. You see, that's what you got to keep in mind. So that's the reason when you go into Psalms 23 and verse 2, it says, He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. It says, He leadeth me beside the still waters, because ultimately by trusting in the Lord, the Most High is giving you what you need. And you should be happy with that. He's guiding you in the path where He needs you to go to. And if you would just, abide by the rules, abide by the guidelines, you know, stay the course, follow that path that He is leaving behind. Because, like I said, as a shepherd, you're guiding the sheep. I'm saying, especially if they go astray, and you bring them back. That the sheep have to. That's why the shepherd has a staff. You beat the sheep to come back in line, to get back in line, get back in order, right? In order for them to make it back to their home. But it says, He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. And if you trust in the Lord, this is how your life is going to be, in a sense, right? And we understand trouble is coming, but just read, Isaiah 65 and 13. How the Most High in these times is going to provide a way for us to eat, sleep, and have moments of joy, right? And this all comes with us trusting in the Lord. Isaiah 33 and 6, right? Wisdom and knowledge should be the stability of thy times. So even our mind, is going to be in a stable state, right? Our mind compared to those that are in the world and are going to be caught off guard, with all the calamity that we're about to see, is going to be night and day. That difference is going to be night and day, right? You're going to have uh, 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 2/3, just tripping, breaking into people's houses, some of them crying in the corner somewhere, some of them eating up their babies. I mean, you name it, it's going to be insane, getting caught by, various evils that the Most High is going to prepare, that is prepared, for that day, right? But us, Lord willing, like I said, we be part of the elect. The Most High has good things waiting for us, good things in store, peace, rest. Ultimately the rest is going to come, whenever He establishes the kingdom. But in these times that we're coming into, these terrible times, the Most High is going to provide a way for us to be secure, for us to be, not really carefree, but be um, pretty much, we ain't gonna worry too much because our trust is gonna be in the Lord, is my point. Right? So from here, let me get this. Let me get Psalm 18. I'll start around verse 28. Yeah, verse 28. It says, For thou wilt light my candle, the Lord Yahweh. Salakia, bear with me. I'm gonna start up actually. I'll just start at 27. It says, For thou wilt save the afflicted people, but will bring down high looks. Right? Who are the afflicted people? Right? Talking about Jake. All right. But again, mainly the elect in this time. It says, verse 28, But thou wilt light my candle, the Lord Yahweh, my power, will enlighten my darkness. Right? And light is very important, because light is is a similitude to the truth. But when you look at a light is very important, because without light, you can't see. Like, say you're inside your house in the middle of the night. If you have steps and stairs, if you have, what I'm saying, like, if you have kids, maybe they left some toys around, you don't know where you're walking unless you have a light. You're gonna step on some Legos, you're gonna step on some toys, you're gonna trip and fall down some stairs, all because you don't have the light. Well, the same thing in this walk that we're living right now, this life. Esau has made this world a wilderness. He pretty much made this world to be set up with a bunch of snares and traps. So if you don't have the light, ultimately you're walking in darkness. If you don't have the truth, you're ultimately walking in darkness, to where you're gonna get caught up in these snares and these traps, right? But it says, verse 29, for by thee I have run through a troop, and by my power have I leaped over a wall. As for my power, his way is perfect. The word of the Lord Yahweh is tried, right? It's tried and true. This truth is tried and true, man, right? We read it in Sirach, the second chapter, in the 10th verse, right? Look at the generations of old, man. They have tried, they have tested the the the, the Most High's ways, and they work, right? But it says, he is a buckler to all those that trust in him, right? A shield. You see, he's a shield. So that's why when you go into Psalms 23, now you can see why it says, he maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters, because we're protected. Someone that has this mindset of, lying down beside green pastures, still waters. That's a peaceful picture that King David is painting. So when you have that on your mind, you're thinking of peace, you're thinking of tranquility, right? And that's going to be the minds of the elect in the time of all hell breaking loose, right? We're going to be in a more calmer state, because we're going to understand why this is happening, and ultimately the Lord is guiding us. He's going to be putting that spirit in us, to not be fearful, right? So going down, verse 3, it says, he restoreth my soul, he leadeth me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. So the valley of the shadow of death, as the title of the video, is America, right? America is that valley of the shadow of death, because when you go into Revelation 17th chapter, this is that whore, right? This is excuse me. I'll start at verse 3. Revelation 17 and verse 3, it says, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Right. So that woman being America, that beast ultimately being um, Esau's empire, in his previous empires, pretty much the Roman Empire all together. What I'm saying, the revitalized version of the Roman Empire. But it says the 7 heads, 10 horns, 7 heads going into the kingdoms of Esau, starting with the Greeks, right? Going to the French, the Spanish, Germania Major, Germania Minor, the Romans, right? What is that 7? That's you have Greece, Rome, Spain, French, the British, Germania Major, Germania Minor. Okay, 7. Then you had the 10 horns, which back then there were 10. It was like vassals that the Roman Empire had, but now you have NATO, you know, and you got to understand, with the revitalization of the dragon, you know, or this beast, right? It would grow to be even more powerful than it was originally, right? And that's what you see now. You have NATO, EU countries. It's more than 10. But originally, back in the ancient world, that's how many there were, right? There were 10. But anyway, going to verse 4, it says, and the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. Right? Let me read this in the NLT. It says, the woman wore purple and scarlet clothing, beautiful jewelry made of gold and precious gems and pearls. So this woman is talking about America, And all this, immaculate, jewelry and clothing just shows how America presents herself as being this rich, gorgeous, woman. But it says in her hand she held a gold goblet full of obscenities and impurities of her immorality. So she's a whore. She has secrets, you know, and they ain't good. She has skeletons in her closet. That's exactly, what America is, right? So it says, verse 5, and upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. In the NLT, it says, a mysterious name was written on her forehead, Babylon the Great, mother of all prostitutes and obscenities in the world. So obscenities. Let me look up this word for obscenities real quick. I just want to see what it says. A state or quality of being obscene, obscene behavior, language. Let me get the word for obscene. Obscene, it says, of the portrayal or description of sexual matters, offensive or disgusting by accepted standards or morality and decency. Right. So this thing is offensive and disgusting. What America does is offensive and disgusting and immoral, right? And that's exactly, what America pushes. Immorality, right? Uh, um, Whoredom, right? Um, Pretty much everything that's offensive to the law, right? And that's in the um, bear with me. That's I think it's in Proverbs 6. Hold on, that ain't it. 23. No, that ain't it. Oh, Proverbs 12. I think it's this one. Proverbs 12 and 26. Right here. It says, Proverbs 12 and 26, it says, the righteous is more excellent than his neighbor, but the way of the wicked seduceth them. You see, so the ways of America has seduced Jake, man. Jake is very impressionable. Jake is very gullible as well. They'll believe anything. You word it nice. The scriptures talk about how this man's words were smoother than butter, right? But war was in his heart. You see? So everything that this man gives you, everything that this man pushes is with the intention to have superiority over you and to trap you in a snare, right? Put you in a trap. Scriptures talk about how if you do with anything good, if you do with anything good, he do with it unwillingly. So the intentions behind his actions are not good, right? Are not sincere. Well, I guess that's sincerely evil, but my point is he doesn't have your good and your best intention at heart. You know what I'm saying? His intention is to bring you down, to cast you down, right? So the way that Esau has tailored America to be is to be a big cesspool of sin. That's why it's called the Valley of the Shadow of Death, because pursuant to Romans 6, let me get that. Romans 6 and 23, it says, for the wages of sin is death, but the gift of the Most High is eternal life through Yahushua HaMashiach our Lord. So the wages of sin is death, right? So by you stacking up on sin, you're gonna be greeted with death. That's gonna be your reward. That's gonna be your wage, right? So that's essentially what it means. The wages of sin is death. So and Esau knows this, pursuant to Judith. Let me get this real quick. Let me just search it. Let me just find it. Judith, the fifth chapter, I believe it's around 20th verse. Right, it says, Now, therefore, my Lord and Governor, if there be any error against his people, and they sin against their power, let us consider that this shall be their ruin, and let us go up, and we shall overcome them. So they understand that if we're in a state of sin, continual sin, that um, we will pretty much be out of the good graces of the Lord, and they could easily just roll up on us and take us out. You know what I'm saying? Pretty much conquer us. But it says, verse 21, but if there be no iniquity in their nation, let my Lord now pass by, lest their Lord defend them, and their power be for them, and we become a reproach before all the world. So they understand again that if we were to be in a state of obeying our power and following the law, statutes, and commandments, that there'll be no stopping us, right? There'll be no way to take us down. Our power will fight. Our power would fight for us, right? So they know this. So this is why Esau has tailor-made America to be a place full of obscenities, right? That's the easiest thing for you to do here in this place is to live a hedonistic lifestyle and be filled with all types of obscenities, right? Commit all these actions, all these, it really to make it into Esau's so-called higher status, with all these higher status Jakes be going into stardom and being a celebrity and all this shit, being famous, right? You ultimately got to sell your soul. You got to do obscene acts in order for you to, be a part of the crowd, right? To so-called make it, you know. You got to have a little dirt on you, you know what I'm saying, in order for them to trust you, right? So knowing this, you understand that Esau, the way he always pushes the propaganda, right? When it comes to the LGBTQ shit, who they have up there, Jake. When it comes to um, the crimes and the drug dealing and all that shit, who they always promote that to, Jake. Through the music, through the movies, that has become Jake's culture, you know. But as it says in the book of Habakkuk, I believe it's 2. Bear with me. Right here. Well, Habakkuk 2, verse 15, it says, woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink. So that drink we read in Revelation, right? That cup that's full of all obscenities, that's what he made us to drink, right? It says, woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, that putteth thy bottle to him, and maketh him drunken also, that thou mayest look on their nakedness, right? And that's what Esau has done. And in turn, making America that valley of the shadow of death, because like we mentioned in Romans 6:23, the wages of sin is death. Jake starts tapping into that black culture, into this sort of, and well, not sort of, it is a death style, but starts tapping into this death style and really the ways of America, and Jay starts getting locked up, falls into or gets shot up by his own people, gets shot up by the cops. There's many ways to die here in America, just based off of the wickedness that pollutes this land, right? Adultery, motherfuckers dying from AIDS, HIV, you name it, man. It's a lot. And ultimately, the Most High has those, in place, as a form of checks and balances, man, right? Ultimately, this is ultimately the Most High, that's making things happen at the end of the day, right? But Esau is who the Most High is using to bring all this evil on the earth, right? And now that's being found out, right? This man's the devil. This man is the left hand of the Lord. Let me see. What was I gonna get? Oh yeah, let me go back to Psalm 23. Let me see. Verse 4 says, Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Right. Just going into the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. That's what comforts us in this walk, right? We're in the valley of shadow of death right now, but we're not in this crash out mode. We're not in this hopeless state of mind to where we're just gonna give up. A lot of people are ready to give up. A lot of people are ready to crash out, ready to just, throw in the towel. But, us here at Great Millstone, man, hey, we have hope, man. We have hope. We trust in the Lord, in the words that He's saying that they're gonna come to pass. Right? So we understand this and we believe this wholeheartedly. So this is why we aren't in this fearful type of mindset, right? And Lord willing, as the time progresses, the Most High increases our faith to where we'll see these things, that's gonna befall the earth, and it won't shake us up at all, man. Right? Because we haven't seen the things that we're about to see. We're about to see here soon. Some brothers might have. I know I never have. And we're gonna need, that spirit of being, steadfast in the Lord and not being fearful. And I do believe the Most High is gonna increase our faith to that level, man, to where we ain't gonna be, fearful. We ain't gonna, you know, be scared. The Most High is gonna provide, man. The Most High is gonna show out here in this time. As the left hand's increasing, we're gonna have to increase too. And we know the right hand is stronger than the left. So just keep that in mind, man. But it says, continuing on, Psalm 23 and 5, that prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. And we're seeing that happen now, right? With the word being reintroduced back into the world, starting first with the men of the Lord, right? And them, or in it resonating with the elect, right? We're seeing that um, the Most High is preparing that table. He's allowing us to eat. We're finally getting nutrition, man. Eating the greens, we eating everything that's good. But this is Isaiah 44 and verse 4. It says, "And they shall spring up as." Hold on, Shalakia. I'll start up at verse. As a matter of fact, I might just start from the top. It says Isaiah 4 and 4 and 1. It says, "Yet now hear, O Jacob my servant, and Israel whom I have chosen. Thus saith the Lord power that made thee and formed thee from the womb, which will help thee. Fear not, O Jacob my servant, and thou Jeshurun whom I have chosen. For I will pour water upon him that is thirsty, and floods upon the dry ground. I will pour my spirit upon thy seed, and my blessing upon thine offspring." Right. So you can, a good chapter to go further into this would be Ezekiel the 37th chapter, right? Going into the valley of the dry bones. We're that dry ground. But the Most High is going to pour his spirit, which he has. And now he's seeing, now we're growing, right? As it's going to say, verse 4, "And they shall spring up and they shall spring up among the grass as willows by the water courses." You see? So we're going to grow up like trees, right? And willows, when you look at a willow is a strong tree. You got strong roots, strong branches, right? So brothers is getting built up, man, getting nourished all through this word. But verse 5, it says, "One shall say, I am the Lord's, or I am Yahweh's, and another shall call himself by the name of Jacob, and another shall subscribe with his hand unto the Lord, Yahweh, and surname himself by the name of Israel." So we're waking up, man. The elect are waking up to who they are, to the name of Yahweh, why Yahweh Shai, right? Tapping into this truth and getting built up, right? So that's why whenever you go back, Psalm 23 and verse 5 says that prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemies. The Most High is making us eat over here, man. We're feasting. And what are our enemies doing, man? They're scared, pursuant to Revelation, the 11th chapter, right? Great fear fell upon them that saw them. Anxiety is filling this man's heart. You know what I'm saying? He's terrified of what will happen. Talking about, Esau, Edom, so-called white man. They're terrified, man. And the nations, they're terrified. They know the kingdom of David is coming back, or the throne of David is coming back. The house of David, the tabernacle of David being risen up right before their eyes, right? Scriptures talk about, let me see, these things. Bear with me. Right here. Psalms 50 and verse 21, it says, "These things hast thou done, and not kept silence." So here the Most High speaking to Esau. It says, "These things hast thou done, and I kept silence. Thou thoughtest that I was altogether such as one as thyself. But I will reprove thee and set them in order before thine eyes." Right? So Esau at one point thought that, he was giving thanks to the Lord, for having us in captivity, for having us, shackled up and in servitude, pretty much tearing down our civilizations. He gave thanks to the Lord for all that. But now he's being reproved. His counsel is coming to naught. His actions are being, being thrown out. His pretty much his dirty laundry is being aired out, right? His actions are being reproved. And that's all by the mouth of the prophets, which are the mouthpiece of the Lord, right? So he's being reproved, and it says, and set them in order before thine eyes. So the Most High is setting us up, right? He's setting his men up to ultimately, be the future kings of the planet Earth. But that's going to start off with us being made look like fools. Scripture talk about that with the fullness of preaching. Um, Let me get that real quick. Let me see. Right here. 1 Corinthians 1 and 21. It says, "For after that, in the wisdom of the Most High, the world by wisdom knew not the Most High. It pleased the Most High by the foolishness of preaching to save them that believe." You see? So in this time, we're going to be made to look like fools, but ultimately, we're the wisest. We have the well, I guess you could say that the wisest knowledge there is. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Right? We have the top knowledge. I guess you could say the top wisdom over here, right? Which are the scriptures. But it says, going back to Psalm 23, "Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." Why is that? Because ultimately, let me see. Um, let's get this. Proverbs 14 and 27. Let me see. I'll start at 26. Proverbs 14 and 26. In the fear of the Lord, Yahweh is strong confidence. Right? Just going back to the beginning of, Psalm 20, 23rd chapter, right? How He's going to lead us beside still waters, right? So we have great confidence in the Lord. Like I said, all you gotta do is look at the Most High's track record. It's uh like it says, he's undefeated. How's it go? Undisputed, right? Undisputed. But it says, verse 27, the fear of the Lord is a fountain of life, to depart from the snares of death. You see? So when you go back to Psalms 23 and 6, going into where it says, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. That's going to be because we're going to be tapping into this truth. We're going to abide by the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, right? We're going to cleave unto the Lord. So by doing so, we're going to receive, great success. As a matter of fact, that's in Joshua. And I'll close it off with this. It's Joshua 1 and verse 8. It says, this book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success. You see, so this is how we're going to attain success. This is how we're going to attain salvation. It's through us tapping into this truth, tapping back into the scriptures, man. Right? So that was pretty much it, though, man. That was all I had. Valley of the shadow of death is going to be overcome by the elect, man. And that's a very few number. So if you want to make it through this valley of the shadow of death, you're going to have to repent and turn back to Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, right? Because the days that we see, they're growing more and more colder, man, more and more evil. All right, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and close it out by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai B'Shem Rachah Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth and rule well. Peace and blessings unto the hopeful elect, pushing his word throughout the four corners of the earth in truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Until the next time, I'm going to say Shalom, Kwam Yasha Allah.